cái phần đề I am listening của người ta sẽ làm như thế này. Rồi. Bây giờ mình sẽ làm các bài lẻ trước rồi mới làm full đề sau. Rồi. Vâng. Session 4 cũng đâu khó đây là session 3 với session 3. Có hai cái giao diện như này. Mình có thể chọn cái giao diện luyện tập này. Đó, nó hiện.
Now turn to section 2. You will hear a part of a talk given by a director of a train station. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14.
Rồi. What kind of chain and maker certain. Rồi, nó kêu là phải tìm cái keyword. Chứ đó không phải là nó kêu là nghe strip. Được không? Rồi. Tìm keyword cho bài này. Tìm keyword trên. Ta có thể đưa ra cái chê lông. Chép lại nguyên phần đó và in đậm keyword. No, what kind of change station? Vậy the new building nào? The new building. Rồi, thì nè. Rồi, kéo lại. Đó. Rồi, nghe lại.
We have already purchased the site on which these new...
Have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Hello, and thank you for attending this meeting. I have called it to discuss station matters, as there have been a number of changes made, and I want to ensure that you are all filled in. Well, as I'm sure you will all have heard, there are plans underway to make some alterations to the station complex. Though we did the reconstruction work that occurred last year, from the data collected this year, we have learned that our station is too small to cope with a large number of visitors passing through it on a daily basis. However, relocation is unnecessary, which means you, our staff, will be unaffected and can continue with your work as normal. We have decided that our only option is to make the area bigger, building new platforms and new facilities, such as cafes and lounge areas. We have already purchased the site on which these new facilities will be constructed. We had initially planned to build on the site of the old industrial buildings. However, tests carried out on the soil and water showed that it was too highly contaminated with waste from the industrial processes. Instead, we have purchased the site just across the road, on which there used to be a lot of houses that were later converted into shops. These buildings will, of course, be demolished to make room for our new facilities. What is going to be built on this new site? I see you thinking to yourselves. There have been a lot of ideas put forward by all the parties involved. Initially, the station had planned to use the site as a car park. However, we decided this would be a very unsatisfactory way to occupy the space. Instead, we have hired an architect who has an exciting vision to transform the site into a large leisure centre complete with cafes, shops and a lounge where visitors can relax. We hope that this new complex will attract many visitors, not just from the station, but also from the apartment blocks in the nearby town centre. As part of the construction works, we are also going to create new formal gardens, where visitors can enjoy the greenery and sit outside in the fresh air. The new leisure complex will be located to the right of the shopping district, so these formal gardens will serve as a meeting place for pedestrians.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20.
Rồi, đây là một cái bài mẫu đơn giản mà.
Now, listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
Now, I'm delighted to be able to introduce you all to the plans for our new complex. So if you could please focus your attention on the maps in front of you. We will start at the main entrance and make our way towards the cafe, which is located behind the wall that we can see directly in front of us, just next to the rear entrance. In this position, the cafe is obscured from the entrances, which will keep the space warm and also create an intimate atmosphere. Once visitors arrive at our station, they often need further transport in order to reach their homes. Therefore, we have introduced a taxi rank with its own waiting area. In order to reach these facilities, the visitors must simply leave the complex via the rear entrance and turn left. Visitors who have travelled to the station by car can leave it in the car park for a small fee, which is located just outside of the rear entrance to the right. At present, our station does not have an internal seating area for passengers, so they're forced to wait for their trains outside on the platforms, which can be particularly unpleasant during the winter. We have, therefore, decided to introduce a passenger waiting area inside the new complex to the right of the rear entrance, with comfortable seating where passengers can pass the time comfortably in the warmth. As this space is a distance away from the station, we have also proposed a waiting area for wheelchair users that is closer. As visitors enter through the main entrance, this space will be located behind the wall to their left. Finally, we have also decided that it will be a great idea to introduce a new tourist office, where visitors can get maps and information on our wonderful town. We want this new office to be easily accessible, so visitors entering through the main entrance will find it directly to their right. Now, I think that's all I have to tell you. Please feel free to ask any questions if you would like to know anything else.
That is the end of section 2. You now have
Trời ơi, 2 câu đúng.
Now turn to section 2. You will hear a part of a talk given by a director of a train station. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14.
Này là không có được rồi. Rồi, đây. Rồi, ok. Rồi, bây giờ một là về the North of the Park Council CAT. Rồi, tôi sẽ cái phần này. Rồi, tiếp theo là giao dịch 1 là cái thằng kia, 2 là thằng Job Center đó. Đây, ok. Rồi bây giờ sẽ luyện nghe cái bài Job Center. Rồi, bây giờ là bài kia thì tôi chọn cái một.
Now turn to section 2 on page 3. Section 2. You will hear part of a talk about how students can get help finding a part-time job while they're studying. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15 on page 3. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Hi, thanks for coming along. My name's Marissa, and I'm going to tell you a bit about finding part-time jobs. Not everybody wants to work when they're studying, and as this is your first year, you may feel that you've quite enough to do as it is. But you may change your mind or find that you need to earn some extra cash. However, if you are a student from overseas, there may be particular conditions attached to working in this country, so you should check with the staff at the center before applying for a job. Right. Now, the university has its own job center on the campus. Well, actually, it's not on this main Hillston campus. It's based in the Student Services Building on the campus called Woodside, spelt WOODSIDE. The center works on a drop-in basis, which means that you don't have to make an appointment. It's open 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday, and 9 hours a day from 10 in the morning until 8 at night. The center is run by other students, but a professional employment lawyer is on hand every Tuesday if you want any advice about your job. There may be a queue, in which case you will have to wait, so make sure you allow plenty of time. Part-time jobs become available almost every day, and they are advertised on the university website, which you can access through the library if the computer center is closed. You should check things daily, and if you see a job which interests you, call in to the center.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20 on page 4.
Tại sao mày nợ mà? Nhưng mà mẹ nợ. Mày chủ nhật đó. Nó chơi được cái gì? Nó chơi game được cái gì đâu? Đây ngày chủ nhật. Ngày chủ nhật nhưng mà con không chơi được là tại con tự nhiên con không. Nhưng mà ngày chủ nhật.
Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
There's a good variety of jobs on offer in the university itself just now. For example, they're looking for people to check that all the vehicles using the university car parks have got up-to-date permits. Office jobs rarely come up, but in future the university is hoping to be able to offer jobs in the IT center. There are also recruitment open days, which are held regularly during the year, when local employers come into the university to recruit students for part-time work within their company. These two-day events are scheduled well in advance each term and are advertised in the usual places. Of course, part-time work is useful to supplement your income, but it's also a valuable way of building up an employment record that reflects your skills and capabilities. One of the most common complaints of graduates leaving university is that many jobs require proven experience. So those applicants who have evidence of part-time work on their CV often have an advantage. The Job Center advertises jobs which will give you skills such as using word processing packages, spreadsheets, or supervisory skills. So, if you have to work, use the opportunity to develop skills which will help you secure a job in the future. Now, what about the financial side of things? Well, students who work part-time can no longer expect to be paid cash. An employer will deduct tax from what you earn, but depending on your own individual circumstances and how much you earn in a year, you should be able to reclaim some of this. You may also have to contribute towards an insurance scheme, but you must ask your employer about these deductions. You should also check whether you will be paid weekly or monthly, and if you work extra hours, what your overtime rate will be. It's also necessary to make sure that your employer knows that you may only be able to work during term time. Communication between you and your employer is very important, but don't expect all employers to use email. If you are ill or cannot get into work for whatever reason, make sure your employer knows in good time. That shouldn't be a problem now that everyone has a mobile phone. And if you decide to leave the job, you should make sure you put this in writing. Some employers require a month's notice, even for a part-time job. So, what sort of work can you expect to find? Well, as I said earlier, there is...
Trời ơi, không khoai từ tất cả đều hai đúng hết rồi làm sao mà được.